Welcome to At Home with Music. I'm Leon Odin, and we're going to switch to the overhead camera right away now because this is where we begin to work on constructing chords. We're going to be starting in the key of C major, starting with C as the root, and we'll begin to look at some of the ways you can construct chords beginning with that one particular note. So, pay close attention, and here we go.
So let's explore the chords that can be constructed using C as the root. And we begin with the most basic of these chords, C major. The notes, of course, being C, E, and G. C is the root, E is the major third above the root, and then G is a perfect fifth above the root. You can also look at it as a major third with a minor third on top. So it helps to know your intervals. And you can play this basic three-note triad in three different ways. We'd call this root position, the root being the lowest note. First inversion, we now have E as the lowest note. C, of course, is still the root. And then second inversion, C over G. And you can voice it different ways. If you're playing it with two hands, you've got this way. You can stay with C in the bass. Now we can also have C chords with alternative bass notes. These are what we call slash chords. That indicates that the second letter is added as a new bass note. So you might have something like C over B. So you have a C major chord with a B note in the bass. Or you could have C slash B flat. C major chord with a B flat in the bass. Or you could have C over D. These are some of the basic, or I should say the most common slash chords that you might find, where you have a C as the chord and then these alternative notes as the bass. So C over D, you might see that a lot. Or you might even see something like C over A flat. Now, what's interesting about these C chords with alternative bass notes is that they often resolve to something. So, for example, if you have a C chord with C with a B in the bass, that B might resolve down to B flat. So you end up with a progression that sounds like this. Get C major, C over B, C over B flat. And then if you end up with C over B flat, where's that going to go? Most likely it's going to go to F over A. And then what if you have something like this? C with A flat in the bass. How might that resolve? Well, the A flat could simply go down to G, or these top notes, E and G, could both come down. And now you end up with F minor 6. And this, in turn, could resolve to C over G, which then can go to G and then C in root position. Interesting, isn't it? So listen very carefully. You end up with this type of chord progression using C chords with alternative bass notes. C major, C over B, C over B flat. Now this is F over A. There's our C over A flat, which resolves to F minor 6, which goes to C over G. which can then go to G or G7 on to C. Now, the interesting thing about C over B, this is actually identical with the third inversion of C major 7, which we'll get to later on. So there's C major 7 in root position, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion. C over A, for example, is identical with A minor 7. C over A flat is identical with A flat major 7 sharp 5. Now, if you don't understand what I'm talking about here, don't worry. This gets more and more complex as we go. Now, C over D often resolves to D, which then takes you to G. And it's actually identical to, and don't worry if you don't quite understand this yet, but it could be called D9 sus 4, no fifth. So as you can see, this gets very complex, but it all starts from this basic C major chord. So all you need to really remember right now is you've got C major with two inversions. Can be played many different ways on the keyboard. So if you're looking at a chord chart and you see C over E, or C over G, or C over D, or C over B flat, and then you can kind of tell where that's going to go. Or like this, C over D, to D, and then to G. As you can see, we are just scratching the surface. There are so many possibilities here when you start using alternative bass notes. Let's go on to C minor. Once again, we start with this basic triad. Triad consisting of 3 notes, and the chord is often abbreviated as C little m. Sometimes you might see it written out as C-M-I-N, but most of the time when you're looking at a chord chart or a lead sheet, it'll just simply be C little m. The C major chord, incidentally, I forgot to mention, is just plain C. So if you see C all by itself, then you know that that's C major. C little m, C minor. So you have the root, a minor third above the root, and a perfect fifth above the root. Another way to look at it would be a minor third with a major third stacked on top. And of course, just like you can do with the C chord, C major chord, you can play this in inverted form. First inversion, second inversion. Or if you're just changing the bass note. You can also have C minor chords with alternative bass notes. So for example, we could have C minor over B flat, or C minor over A, or C minor over A flat. Now these are 3 of the most common C minor chords with alternative bass notes that you will find in songs. You might even find a progression that goes like this. C minor over B flat, C minor over A, C minor over A flat. So once again, you have these slash chords. And note that C minor over B flat, it's identical with the third inversion of C minor 7. First inversion, second inversion, third inversion. C minor over A is identical with the third inversion of C minor 6. C minor over A flat is identical with A flat major 7. And so if you're playing something like this could also resolve to F minor, which then takes you to C minor over G, and then G, and then just plain old C minor. We're just scratching the surface here, but I'm trying to get you immersed now into this deep dive into chords. Let's do one more. We've covered major, minor, and I've mentioned in previous videos that we have 3 basic chord qualities. One being major, minor, and the third quality is a 7th chord. So the C 7th is a dominant 4-note chord. This is the dominant 7th chord. It just always feels like it's got a lead somewhere. And where it usually goes, so we're building this dominant 7th chord on C. The bass either needs to go up to F or down to F. It's going to go up a 4th or down a 5th. And of course, C7 is always abbreviated as C with a 7. So you got a root, a major 3rd, a perfect 5th, and a minor 7th on top of the root. Or another way to look at it, you've got a major 3rd and 2 minor 3rds piled on top. And there are 3 inversions, as we've mentioned before. First inversion, second inversion, third inversion. Most of the time when you hear a C7 or a dominant 7th chord, it's going to be in either root position or one of the 3 inversions. That's just C. Chords built on C, and we're just getting started. There are actually over 20 more chords, at least, that we can construct using C as the root. Basically, what we're doing is we're adding notes, and we're altering notes. But it all starts with C as the root, and so these chords get more complex as we go. So I hope you're beginning to see the enormity of what's available to you as you learn chords. Don't be intimidated, because once you figure out the chords, for example, that you can build in C, with C as the root, then you can just transfer everything to other notes. You can either work your way up chromatically, or you can go through the circle of fifths. This will require a great deal of thought and concentration, but I guarantee you that this will be worth it. Why? Well, for the reasons that I've explained in the video leading up to this one. It is so important that if you want to be able to play with great confidence any song that you want to play in any key, then this is something that would be very beneficial for you to learn, and I'm so happy to be able to share it with you. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have and respond to any comments. Thank you for watching and for playing along, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.